the word manifesting, what comes to mind? For a lot of us, I think there's this quiet skepticism.
Hmm.
We picture someone, just sitting quietly, wishing really hard for something.
Right, hoping the universe will just sort of deliver a new car to the driveway.
Exactly. It can sound a bit like wishful thinking, maybe dressed up in some mystical language.
It definitely can. And that's really where Roxie Nafousi's book, Manifest, comes in and completely changes the frame on that conversation.
How so?
Well, the core idea is this really profound shift away from just passively asking. It reframes manifesting as a pretty rigorous practice,
Yeah.
something rooted in self-development and actual psychology.
So we're moving it out of the purely mystical then.
We're moving it toward the hard work of, you could say, internal construction.
I like that.
Yeah, Nafusi's whole point is that it's fundamentally about aligning your deepest sense of self-worth with your actions, your tangible conscious actions.
So you have to become the person who already has those things.
You have to become that person. It's not about passive hope. It requires proactive creation.
And that idea of proactive creation feels key here. The whole philosophy seems to be, you need to go out and create the life you actually want.
Hmm.
Instead of just constantly revolving around the people or the things you don't.
You stop fighting the past
Yeah.
and you start building the future. It's a call for a kind of decisive, positive construction, an architecture of becoming.
Okay, an architecture of becoming. Let's unpack that because that sounds like it means we have to confront some uncomfortable truths about ourselves.
It really does.
So our mission today is to explore that inner construction work, to move past the surface level idea of visualization and get into the deeper truths of what proactive manifesting really asks of us.
And that deep internal work, that's the only foundation that will actually hold.
Absolutely. So when we talk about this practice, we have to start with that foundational belief system. Manifesting isn't a magic trick you do once. It's a consistent practice, and it's built on what you believe you're worthy of.
I mean, if you subconsciously believe you only deserve to struggle financially, that's very often the reality you'll keep creating.
Right. And the author grounds this idea so beautifully. She writes, manifesting is a meeting of science and wisdom.
I love that line.
It is a philosophy to live by and a self-development practice to help you live your best life.
You see, it immediately demands consistency. It asks for that ongoing self-work. It's a tool for shaping your life, not just a one-off transaction.
It does. And that brings us right to the next piece, which is clarity. This seems to be the first major hurdle for people.
It really is.
You can't just manifest a happier life. It's too vague, isn't it?
It's totally shapeless. I mean, if you're just putting out these generic wishes, how are you ever going to recognize the actual opportunity when it shows up? Especially when it's disguised as hard work.
Yeah.
And the author is really uncompromising on this. There's this powerful line she uses. Clarity is the ultimate power. If you don't know where you're going, you'll never get there.
It seems so obvious when you hear it like that, but what's the real danger of being vague?
I think the danger is just overwhelm and distraction.
Yeah.
When you know your exact destination, you can filter everything through that specific lens.
I see.
If your goal is, say, a fulfilling career and sustainable energy, you just stop wasting your time and energy on things that don't align. The noise just falls away.
So once you have that clarity, the next step in this inner architecture is about managing your emotional state, or what the book calls your vibration. But let's be real, how do you do that when life is constantly dragging you down? This isn't just about forcing yourself to be happy all the time, is it?
No, absolutely not. That's a huge misconception. It's more about energy management.
Okay.
The author talks about this concept of energetic return. She says, the vibration you put out into the world is the vibration you get back.
But the world is full of fear and frustration. I mean, those are natural feelings.
They are. And the book acknowledges that. These so-called low-vibe feelings, fear, envy, they're part of being human.
So you're not trying to get rid of them?
Not at all. The practice is about recognizing that when you dwell in them, you limit your ability to see or act on opportunities. It's about not letting those feelings become your permanent address.
A subtle shift, then.
A very subtle but powerful shift. So just to recap where we are so far, we've explored these foundational ideas. First, that manifesting is really a sustained practice of becoming.
Becoming the person who deserves the outcome.
Exactly. Not just asking for it. And we've seen that this work, it has to begin with a really profound, almost radical clarity on the what.
The specific destination.
The specific destination. And then an honest, non-judgmental awareness of the emotional energy we're carrying. our vibration.
Okay, moving into the next phase of this architecture, let's talk about obstacles, because they always show up.
They do.
In fact, a lot of people feel like when they start doing this deep work, the challenges actually seem to increase. Why does that happen?
That is such a common feeling. And it's often why people give up. They think the resistance is a sign to stop.
Like the universe is saying no.
Right. But Nafousi completely flips that idea on its head. She encourages you to see these challenges not as roadblocks, but as opportunities.
How so?
She frames them as an intentional test. She writes, "Tests are the universe's way of asking, are you sure you want this? Have you really changed?"
Wow. Okay, so a test.
It's a test. And that's where this whole concept becomes really empowering. These setbacks are framed as vital checkpoints. They're opportunities for you to prove you have the resilience and the skills for that next level you're trying to reach.
So they force you to move past your old patterns.
They source you. If you ask for the courage to start a business and then an investor asks you a really tough question, that question isn't a setback.
It's the test.
It's the test, confirming you're ready for the responsibility. They're promotions, not roadblocks.
Okay, so those are the external tests. What about the internal ones? The biggest one for so many of us is envy, comparison. Most self-help says just avoid it. But the author has a really interesting, almost contrarian take on this.
It's such a useful reframe because it's just so realistic about human emotion.
Right.
The idea is, if you see someone else who has exactly what you want, that business, that relationship, it's not a sign of your own failure.
What is it then?
It's proof.
Yeah.
It's proof that that exact thing is possible for a human being.
So you're using their success as confirmation of your own potential.
Exactly. It's like a personal GPS and highlights your own deepest desires, maybe ones you've forgotten about.
I see.
The goal is to pivot from that soul-crushing question, why them, to something more empowering, like, thank you for showing me it's possible.
And thank you for showing me what I really want.
Yes. It clarifies your own intention instead of diminishing your spirit.
Now, this brings us to maybe the most uncomfortable truth in the book. This idea of a hidden fear. The fear of success itself.
This is where the work gets really hard.
We spend our whole lives afraid of failing. How can we possibly be afraid of getting everything we want?
Because true success demands a major identity change. You're not the person who struggled anymore. You're not the person who made excuses.
You have to become someone new.
You have to become someone new with new responsibilities, new consistency. You might have to leave old habits or even relationships behind. And that is, subconsciously, very overwhelming for the ego.
So we sabotage ourselves to stay safe.
We do. The author addresses this directly. She says, fear is just an illusion created by your ego to keep you safe in your comfort zone. And that comfort zone is so tempting, even if it's keeping us small.
So this is the core internal work then. We've learned that we need to see challenges not as blocks, but as exams we have to pass.
Exams before graduation.
And we can actually transform the pain of envy into real clarity about what we want.
Yes.
And maybe most critically, we have to identify that fear of success, that quiet resistance that might be keeping us clinging to what's familiar.
And once that internal work is really underway, you've got the clarity, you've addressed the worthiness, you've reframed the obstacles, then you have to move to execution.
Right. This is where it stops being just passive.
Exactly.
Because, as the author says, visualization without action is just a dream.
And this is what really separates this proactive manifesting from older methods. You have to take the physical steps. You have to meet the universe halfway.
It's about that inspired action, not just waiting for an opportunity to fall into your lap.
Not at all.
And one of the most powerful actions we can take, one that also shifts our internal state, is practicing gratitude.
And she describes gratitude not just as being polite, but as a powerful frequency. She calls it the bridge between where you are and where you want to be.
How does that actually work in practical terms?
Well, gratitude physically shifts your brain's focus from a scarcity mindset.
Right.
What's missing, what I lack,
Right.
to an abundance mindset, acknowledging what you already have. And that sense of abundance just naturally makes you more receptive to opportunities because you're scanning the world for possibilities, not for problems.
And in terms of other proactive steps, the book is quite forceful about curating your space, your inner circle.
Oh, that's crucial. Your environment is a constant feedback loop.
So you have to do an audit.
You really do.
Yeah.
It means actively unsubscribing from people or social media that just trigger feelings of inadequacy or drama. Anything that keeps you rooted in an old version of yourself.
You can't build a new reality with old inputs.
You can't. It just won't work.
Okay, so this brings us to a final, really tricky point. It's that tension that trips up so many of us who are high achievers. It's control versus trust.
Yes.
We do all this work, we take all the action, but then there's this final, painful step of letting go.
You have to be crystal clear on the goal, but obsessing over the how.
Hmm.
That just creates tension, resistance. That frantic energy actually slows the whole process down.
So we have to trust that the path will appear even if it's not the one we mapped out perfectly?
That's the final surrender.
Yeah.
And it takes the deepest faith, really. There's the final quote that brings it all home. She says, trust the timing of your life. Trust that everything is happening for you, not to you. When you bring it all together, this deep dive really shows that Nafousi's book is like a gentle but very firm mirror. It forces us toward this place of radical personal responsibility. It shows us that manifesting is so much less about some magical event and so much more about the constant, sometimes difficult process of becoming.
Of becoming the person who is already prepared for the life they desire.
Exactly.
It's a really profound realization, isn't it? That you are the architect, and the journey means you have to let go of excuses, challenge those deep beliefs about what you deserve, and really face down the ego's fear of change.
It's a demanding path, but it's an incredibly empowering one.
And if you take nothing else away from our conversation today, maybe it's the core message that holds all of this work together. Nafousi states it so simply. She says the journey begins and ends right here. You are worthy of everything you desire.
But you must believe it first.
So with that in mind, just as a quiet thought to leave you with, what limiting belief are you ready to surrender today? What small piece of resistance are you ready to release to step into that version of yourself that is already worthy? That's the internal work that truly starts now.